Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We have a news flash. This just came through. You're getting old. So am I. It's life. How do we grow old gracefully? Many of us have challenges along the way, be it health challenges or just feeling, a little bit of grief along the way in terms of getting older. There's a process, and we're going to talk about that, specifically saging. And she's somebody that works with people on this level and many more all the time. She's the founder of the Center for Ageless Living, located in New Mexico. And Suzette Lindemuth joins us once again here on the program. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I was just commenting on the winds and how I feel like I've been blown into oblivion. I mean, it's really bad, and I know everyone's experiencing a lot of wind right now across the country, so I hope everybody stays safe.
Absolutely. Yeah, and more specifically, I know we talked last time we got together, you have some wonderful gardens, so hopefully it's not affecting the gardens where you are.
Well, we have I did put up some hoop houses, and they actually did stay standing, so I was pretty happy about that. So we'll see how it fares with the winds. But I think the danger, of course, is always fire, and just being cautious about things blowing on the highway and not getting hit by tumbleweeds, which are one of the true things that I hate the most, are tumbleweeds.
Well, we don't really have them here in New York. I know New Mexico, different situation, but universally doesn't matter whether you're in New York, New Mexico. We all at some point are getting older every day when we're one day closer to, when we're not going to be here. So you want to make the most of it. And sometimes we can get frustrated when health issues crop up as we age. This whole thing called saging, what we're going to talk about today, what exactly is that?
Well, I'm actually going to read a little description about it because it's much better than what I can say off the top of my head.
Sure.
And one of the reasons I like the concept of saging is because in 2005, when we started to create the entire center, we really started to look at what did creative aging look like? Like, how could you age better? And there's a lot of grief around aging. And so we lose our youthfulness. We lose our ability to do some things, and we see it as sort of a negative thing and a declining thing, rather than flipping the coin and seeing it as an opportunity to do something different and to learn something new. So the concept of saging was something that I looked at in 2005, and I found it to be a fascinating, philosophically, a fascinating journey on how to age well. So the term saging refers to the practice of growing older with wisdom, grace, and intentional reflection. Unlike the idea of simply aging, saging emphasizes embracing one's elder years as a time for sharing accumulative knowledge, offering guidance, and deepening spiritual and emotional growth. And that was a very strong statement. Even now when I read it, I kind of get a little chills about the fact that, if all of us could take that opportunity and look back with a very supportive and kindness in our heart at where our journeys have taken us, I think that's a wonderful lesson to learn.
1,000,000,000%. And it's interesting, as you said that description, I was like, we all do, we apply it to our lives. I believe I look at aging differently now that I got a little bit of a spiritual path, just a better understanding of life in general, myself, what makes me operate, what, others and all of that, where it helped me appreciate aging. Like previously, it was like, I don't want to, tell anybody how old I am. And now I'm like, I embrace it. Yeah, I think it's a great thing. But it took some soul searching to get to that point. My point there is everything that you said, when you work on all pieces of, the aging puzzle or our journey puzzle collectively, it kind of falls into place. I don't know if that makes sense. That's what I got from that.
And I think that, when you hit about 60, but between 65 and 85, when, you're sort of in that third phase of your life, I think we do tend to feel more spiritually connected to the process. And looking back, there's that ability to put things in boxes and come to some acceptance. And if there is an acceptance, then there's a letting go. I mean, I love that, Edie Piaf's song, No Regrets. You have to kind of look back and say, and if there are serious regrets, then maybe you need to make amendments. But, you can let it go and you can journey forward then. And that's one of the parts about saging, is letting go and accepting, the life that you had, and then what is it that you have learned from that life, and how do you mentor and share as you move forward?
What was your biggest lesson in aging? When we got to realize it, we are aging. What stands out for you? What was maybe a turning point, a realization?
I think when I started looking at this concept, and I thought, and I had worked in healthcare a long time, but I really didn't feel like I was making a big difference in how people were aging well or not aging. And so I think as I started to look at what I could do to build a community, and I had focus groups and I had community people come, and we talked a lot about, what was important. And I think that was a real changing moment for me. And reading the book by Betty Friedan, The Fountain of Age, opened my eyes to looking at community very differently. And I grew up in a big family. I had a lot of community support when I was growing up. And I realized that a lot of people don't have that. And I think I'm very fortunate. And I thank, I thank my parents and my family every day, recognizing that some people don't have that. And how can we help those that don't feel connected to a community? And I believe that that journey for me started to really open up the concept of the Center for Ageless Living. And I think that was a big change for me.
Wow.
Professionally and also personally.
When you say that community connection, do you feel that since it was so beneficial and robust for you personally growing up, that you wanted to create that, call it community connection within the center? And was that one of your motivations for starting it?
Definitely. Yeah, I felt very connected. And, I grew up in a small town. So, I think it was easy to feel part of a community. I mean, obviously, we all were bullied when we were little. And,
oh, yeah.
My brothers were not always nice to me.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, we have memories that are not great. But, generally speaking, it is, I think something else that has really almost shocked me and has created a little bit of a concern is that when I have a lot of employees. I mean, I have almost 50 employees, and many of them are young. They're 18 to 24, or then I have an older population that works for me. But, we have young people that are coming in, and the younger population doesn't seem to have much community connection. And they tend to not take care of themselves. They don't have what we call hobbies or interests. They seem pretty disconnected to others. And I find it kind of disheartening to say, gosh, what can we do? And so as an employer, I feel it's my job also to make sure that my employees are living healthy. And so we offer a lot of benefits to our employees to try to bring that concept to them. But they're coming to me really with a lack of that basic commitment to family and community that I find interesting, I would say.
You just sparked something inside of me. And I think this is one of your superpowers. You make us think. And there's a little pubby, little tiny restaurant in town where I grew up. It's maybe about 10 minutes from where I am now. And I bounced around, within, 10, 12, 15 miles from where I grew up. And I go there, and I never think of this consciously. I go there because they have, dollar hamburgers. It's wonderful. And I took my son there last night. He's home from college, and burgers are great, and Dad doesn't have to spend a lot of money. But I just realized something. The real reason I go there is I feel like I'm connected to my community. I feel like that is my community. And every once in a while, I'll see somebody who I went to school with, and I'll say hi to somebody. They may have heard me on the radio in town, whatever. I didn't realize it until you said it. That is my community connection. And my
Mhm.
friend, my best friend, will go there maybe once every couple of weeks, whatever, and just to catch up. Um, but I never thought of it that way. That is why I go. I feel connected to
Yeah.
a community. We need that.
We do need that. And those local pubs and those local restaurants are really where communities form. And I think it's so important for people to embrace their local small businesses and small
Sure.
restaurants and bars and be connected, that, where everybody knows your name is an important concept. And so I think it's really a challenge to, bring people together that are fearful for some reason of forming community. And I don't quite know why they're so fearful, but there could be a lot of reasons. And I think it's important to create a safe environment where people can come and be, be themselves and enjoy each other. So we try to really do that here at the center. So I think there's lots of ways that families and individuals can connect, but if you have someplace, that you feel most comfortable, embrace it. And, thank the people that are there, embrace it. So I think that's important.
It's kind of what's going on there at the Center for Ageless Living. People that are connected with your community that you've created within there probably see some of the staff members, and that's their feeling of connection. What's your advice for those of us getting up there in age that now we're thinking about our age? I'm not talking, somebody in their 30s and 40s, but somebody, that now is mindful of getting older. What are some of the things that you would want them to know based on what you've learned, saging and all of that?
I think it's just to slow down and take a few minutes to reflect on your life and be grateful. I mean, I think being grateful is incredibly powerful.
Mm.
And we have an awful lot here in the United States to be grateful for. I mean, we're very fortunate that we live in an environment and in a country where we have a lot of freedoms and a lot of benefits that other countries don't.
Yep.
So gratefulness is important. And then I think you have to, again, think about that emotional journey that you've been on and that spiritual journey that you're on, and think a little bit about how you can mentor. How can you, most people who are sagers or in the saging kind of mode want to feel that they've left a legacy, or that they're passing on wisdom, or they're passing on advice, or some way to improve somebody else or something. So I think you can kind of step back and say, what have I learned and how can I pass that on? And that might be in tutoring, or just sitting, going to your neighbor and talking with your neighbor and connecting with them, or, feeling a larger mission. Obviously you can become very philanthropic and do more, but it doesn't have to be big. I think it just has to be that willingness to share your story in a compassionate way so that people will connect with you and you can connect with them. And I think that's going to be very important with our younger generation. I think they're going to need a lot of saging because I don't think they're aging really well. And, you have to start, in your 20s, you have to start to think about aging. Like you can't, you can't just say, oh, well, now I'm 90, I'll think about aging. Yeah. You have to really make a commitment to, age well, eat well, exercise, be involved, learn new things, stay connected to your environment. All of those things are part of aging, and that has to start at a pretty young age for you to be successful. Now, I'm not saying, when you're 50 and 60, you can't age well. You certainly can. It's just a lot easier if you already are thinking about that mentality in your 20s and 30s. Some people do, some people don't. Like I've thought about it since I was 28. So, but I was in the industry, so I really saw the need to take care of yourself and be healthy, and go on that journey earlier than later, I would say.
Well, not to sound old here, but younger generation, I give them a lot of credit in this area where the quality of life and working, but working smarter is very important. So my first thought there is probably dealing with less stress in that area. Maybe there's stress in other areas, but it started a long time, I think, with Google when that was kind of the trendsetter, in Palo Alto, California, back in like 2010, somewhere around there, where
Mm-hmm.
it was more about the quality of work. Come in, we have childcare, we have a
Yeah.
gym here, use it during your lunch hour. We have, full cafeteria, which you have healthy food. So I think that's a plus that people like us didn't think of back then. We just worked really hard, sometimes a little too hard there.
Yeah, I think you have to balance everything. And,
Yeah.
and obviously, our generation probably were more workaholics than the generation. And maybe that's a good thing that they're not so good. I know my son is very committed to, working remotely,
Hmm.
you know, using 3 to 4 hours every day to take care of his health and hike and exercise. And he has shown me that it is critical to not be overconsumed by your workday and to step back and remember that you can't really take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. So,
Yeah.
in that regard, my son has taught me many lessons, and I think that those are valuable lessons. And we really do support our employees here by letting them use the spa, letting them use our health facility, letting them eat at our restaurant, working with them to support their kids in sports, trying to keep them on a flexible schedule. A lot of them have to have flexible schedules because they are, moms and dads that are having other, things at home that have priority also. So it is important to work in a place where you feel committed to and that they're committed to you as well. So we have to remember that in healthcare, that's one of the most critical things is that our caregivers, are treated well enough so that they can take care of others. I think that's really a critical part of the healthcare system.
On the riff of health, isn't it amazing when you were younger, you were invincible? Yeah, don't worry about your health. Huh? But as you get older, you realize you get to a point. I think you get to a threshold when you cross over it, you realize health is everything. It is everything. You could have all the money in the world. You don't have your health. That money might not be able to fix it. So that being said, I think, if you or I were to talk to our younger selves, we probably would have, that in mind, probably would have said different things to ourselves back when we were in our 20s and 30s, right?
But just remember, no regrets.
No
That's an
regrets.
important concept. No
No.
regrets.
Thank you.
But you're
Thank you.
right. We would tell each other different stories, having known what we know now. And I think that's what
Yeah.
saging is about, is that mentoring and saying, these are some lessons that I've learned. I want to pass the lessons on to you. Now, whether or
Yes.
not you embrace them and learn from them, there's no control over that. But I do think that the concept of saging and passing on wisdom and knowledge is just a very valuable thing. And I encourage people to Google saging. There's Saging International. It's an international movement. It's not just here in the United States. I believe a lot of it has come from our Native American culture and, this ability to, pass on wisdom. And I think it's an important concept. And I think it's valuable to remember that, the journeys we're on, many people are on the same journey. We're on the same road. We might take different roads at different times, but at the end, everyone comes back to the same road, that you are aging and that you need community, that you need family, that the road doesn't have to be lonely. You don't have to be on the road by yourself. And, we're all coming together to form a supportive environment for aging, whether or not you're in assisted living or a nursing home or in your community, in your home, doesn't matter. Everybody is on that same journey. No one I know is really getting younger, maybe younger in heart, but not physically.
And you're right. No regrets. Thank you for that reminder. There are some that believe that we're here to learn and teach, and create. But those, the two fundamentals, and the mentoring part of it, when you think about it, sometimes we forget where we came from, but there probably has been a lot of mentors in our lives along the way. not just one, two. You think about your journey. Think about it for just a moment. Aren't there a lot of people that helped you along the way?
Many people,
Yeah.
too many to even count, really.
Right.
And, we kind of forget to thank people. And I think, those are one of the things that you can go back and, share your story with somebody that maybe really did make a difference. I mean, it's nice I was saying, I'm going back for my 50th class reunion, and I'm sure there's people, there's a lot of people I haven't seen in years because I don't live in the community I grew up in any longer. And it'll be fun to say thank you to some of my friends that, really did make a difference in my life, and our teachers and our religious organizations that helped us. It's amazing how many people have, touched our lives, and we kind of forget to even just send a thank you out into the universe and remember them. I think that helps too, just to acknowledge that, we all had people in our lives that have made a difference. And sometimes it's a hard lesson to learn. Like I can remember learning lessons from my school teachers that were not always so pleasant. And still I remember those lessons, about sharing and about sensitivity and about, work and completing tasks and those types of things.
Thank you for saying the thank you. Because we forget. We forget. And I remember, it was probably like 7 or so years ago, I got a card from my librarian in high school, and she was instrumental in allowing me and a friend to purchase high quality video equipment. And that began my broadcast career. And she sent me a card that said, I'm watching you and I'm proud of you. I cried, and I reached back to her, and I still connect with her even on Facebook. And it was my reminder. I got to thank those people because it was just wonderful. I didn't expect it. How did she even track me down? But it was, and it wasn't, the card came to my house. It didn't come, through Facebook or whatever. So it's a lot. Wonderful conversation with you today. A lot of realizations. Yeah, good stuff. The Center for Ageless Living, if somebody wants to learn more about it there in New Mexico, how do they do that?
Go to our website, nmagelessliving.com. You can email me, Suzette, at nmageless.com. And if you're in New Mexico, please come see us. We're always here, 24 hours a day. We're here, and we would welcome anybody coming to visit.
You've created a wonderful center with wonderful philosophy, and I appreciate it. Thanks for being here today, Suzette.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.